Yeah, hi folks. Now last week, Liz Gunn outlined some quite compelling themes for her new political party, in which she said, "Imagine living in a country where power has been removed from central government and given to the regions, where there is no fluoride in water, no 1080, and where there is no WHO and WEF control anymore, and no indoctrinations in schools and universities." But she didn't say, imagine living in a country without co-governance, without apartheid, without a separate health system and a separate legal system, and without special Maori seats. And imagine living in a country where it is truly equal. One person, one vote, and one law for all, etc. And Liz, imagine filling rooms like this at your events, and hat tip to cross the Rubicon for this one.
So there's a lady down here.
I want to talk about this. Well, let me finish the slides.
Causing a bit of grief.
Or, madam. I want to talk
See
about
her in the
this
centre
word.
of your
The Encyclopedia Britannica defines the word war like this. It says war, in the popular sense, is a conflict between political groups. Now, we have people out there, tonight, who are against what I'm doing. They're for co-governance. We had one just shout out the back. Now, you know what? They're entitled to have that opinion. I'm totally okay with that. In fact, I've been going around the country saying, want to hire this hall, this one, tomorrow night, and you have a meeting about what's good about co-governance. I'm all for that. I won't protest, because I think free speech is important. Yeah. Give us a clap for that.
Yay!
So this is a conflict between political groups.
You just told me to shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Might be a good idea. You just you're missing the slide. You're missing all my slides, and I'm about to answer some of your problems that you're having here with this word. We're fighting for democracy. Democracy has been destroyed in New Zealand. In fact, it's under massive threat. In fact, it has already been destroyed in some respects. They talk about, the Labour government talks about tweaking democracy. You can't do that. You either have democracy or you don't have democracy. You don't tweak it. As soon as it's lost, to any degree, you've lost democracy. So what else are we fighting for? We're fighting in this war for one law for all. How many agree with that?
Yes!
We are fighting. I love Christchurch. This is a hot crowd. This is amazing. We are fighting for one person, one vote, and all votes of equal value. Give us a clap for that.
Yes! One vote each. One vote each. That's what we should be having. Yes! Yes!
I hope this has all been in. Some of you guys need to come up here with your little sticks and have a look from this perspective, because it's pretty cool. Do you want to do that? You can come up here and sit on the stage like a mannequin. Up here. You can come sit there. Okay, so there you go. Alright. So this war we have discovered involves hostilities.
Now I'm at the front.
And so we have people who are hostile.
Must be 300 people.
I've had people here who, on my tour,
Good crowd.
who have been very aggressive with me. Nobody's actually touched me, nobody's hurt me, nobody's damaged my car.
Standing room.
And that's good.
There's about
Because I'm actually doing what
two, maybe 300 people outside.
told us to do. It involves duration. This has been going on since 1975. This is the definition that came out of the Encyclopedia Britannica. They say war has duration, so I'm just going through it point by point. It has duration. This started in 1975 with the Treaty of Waitangi Act, and then out of that was birthed the Waitangi Tribunal, and that's the biggest scandal New Zealand's ever had politically. And it has magnitude, you see, because I'm saying this, that New Zealand is, if you want to make a metaphor, New Zealand is on a bus, all the New Zealanders are on the bus, it's being driven by elite iwi, and they're taking the entire country towards the edge of a cliff, and if it goes over, it's unsurvivable.
And they are.
It's not iwi, it's the crown.
Don't you worry about it.
Iwi.
This is my setup. This is, no, that word is very good for you, isn't it?
The crown.
I'm totally against all physical violence. You need to know that.
Emotional violence is just
Oh my God.
I'm totally against all physical violence. This is a political war. It's a war of words and ideas. Now, the only weapons I will ever use, and I've said this, is my brain, my mouth, and my pen. That's the only weapons I use. And we might say this, look, we started out, when I wrote this book in February this year, and we printed our first 5,000, we thought, man, you know, what are people going to resonate with this book? Well, we've sold 350,000. And we're just about to put another 100,000.
Hey!
And so, if you don't think the pen is more powerful than the sword, then you account for that. How do you account for that? Because the written word, when it goes out, it's powerful. Is that true? Yes or no? Yes, it is. And so, those are my weapons. I don't need a gun. I've got something more powerful. It's this and this. We don't use this. We don't need it. In fact, the guy who first said that was this bloke here. The pen is mightier than the sword. That was the English author and playwright Edward Bulwer Lytton in 1839. This is my personal belief too. So let's clear that up right at the beginning. So who are the parties in this war? It's a war led by tribal representatives, private tribal companies, or elite Maori to take over New Zealand. Sometimes they're called treaties. Elite Maori or treaties are a distinct group. There may be. I'm going to have to take you out, my friend, if you keep going, because you're interrupting the flow of the meeting. She's just passing out.
She's getting kicked out. She's getting kicked out. Hey!
Now, Liz, just imagine what it would be like if everyone told the truth like Julian does.
So what are your thoughts around racism in New Zealand, Julian?
Well, as you were talking, I was thinking about Ryan Bridge. And one day I was driving around Auckland, and there was a live radio show. Ryan Bridge was the host of this show. And he was talking about racism, and he said, you know, just ring up if you have anybody who's experienced racism. And so I thought, oh, that's going to be interesting. And a married lady, she said she was in her 50s, said she went into a high-end bag shop in Newmarket, and she was looking for a bag. And she said the shopkeeper just didn't take her eyes off her as she was going around the bags. And the shopkeeper's eyes were glued on this married lady. And Ryan Bridge says, oh, how did you feel about that? She said, oh, it made me feel terrible because, that I was being watched so closely. Anyway, the conversation just went on a little bit, and then the conversation started. And so I got on, fortunately. I thought I need to ring up about this. And, Ryan Bridge was saying, oh, isn't this terrible? This is an evidence of racism in New Zealand and how bad it is. And, you can't even go shop without having somebody watch you like a hawk. But I rang up and I said this, you know what, I can totally empathise with the lady in the shop, because Maori are only 14% of the population, and yet 51% of the beds in prisons are held by Maori. And that lady in the shop, the shopkeeper, thought, if I get a bag nicked, I'm going to have my profits for the day go down the gurgler. Now, that's not racist. It's just the lady in the shop guarding her goods so she doesn't lose a bag. Now, if Maori got clean with their criminal activity, they're actually the ones causing the racism. They're causing the people to treat them in a certain way because of their behaviour in society. That's how I see it. And, let's just think about that. You don't get other cultures being watched like a hawk in the shops because they're not a threat. They've got great records, criminal records, and they're not a threat. So I think there's a lot of racism is actually being caused by Maori with their bad behaviour.
Now, Liz, just imagine living in a country where people don't have to go through hell like Julian has.
Can you touch on the what you've started, who you are, and why you are travelling around the country around co-governance? Thanks, Julian.
Okay, well, I did an interview with Paul Brennan from RCR Radio, and he asked me those questions. And so I'll give you my own background about what New Zealand Herald did a 2-page spread on me saying the headline was "What Triggered Julian Batchelor Like I'm a Psychopath on the Loose."
Oh.
And it's okay. It's just the media. But that's okay. So I listened to, I read what they wrote, and it was mostly just completely rubbish. But this is the truth of what happened. In 2008, I purchased a beautiful piece of land in the Bay of Islands. It was in 3 lots. It was an amazing piece of land. It isn't. I've still got it. It's an amazing piece of land, and it had a beach on both sides. And one of those beaches was arguably the most beautiful beach in the whole of New Zealand. It's called Oke Bay, O-K-E Bay. And so it was in 3 lots, and I thought, I had a little mortgage, so I thought I'd just sell a little piece of land at the end and get rid of my mortgage. So I rang up Bailey's, and I said to Bailey's, come and sell this piece of land for me. Put up a sign. Within an hour, it was chopped down with an axe. Now, you can tell it was an axe because what was left in the ground, you could see all the chop marks on it. And then signs started appearing all over my land. This is Maori land, not for sale. And then videos started appearing. This is a racist who's bought the land, and we're going to get this land back, and we're going to raise money, and if you want to help. And it was a big, scary, intimidating thing. Now, I bought in this community, it was 99% Maori, the most staunch Maori community probably in New Zealand. This is Rafiti. And, that tells you I'm not a racist, because who would buy in that community if you were a racist? You'd go for a white community, wouldn't you? You go for a 99% white community or 100% white community, So I bought there because I was brought up in Whangarei Boys High, where we all were just mates going to school. I had Maori in my class. I had Maori in the sport that I was playing, and we were colourblind. Anyway, so this happened. The next thing, I got a telephone call from the police, and they said, you better call off this sale because we've had an email from Maori and Rafiti saying they're coming down with a bus to smash up the auction rooms if this sale goes ahead. So I thought, well, what have we got ourselves into here? Now, between 2008 and 2015, there was a beautiful 2-story, 140-year-old villa right on the beach, which me and a whole lot of other guys, we restored. We put about $1 million into it. And it was wonderful, and we thought, you know what, we should really rent this out now. It's looking so beautiful, over Christmas 2015, which we did to raise some funds. And we had 3 South African families rent the house, and it was their dream holiday. They came all the way from South Africa. And anyway, New Year's Eve 2015, I got a phone call at 2 in the morning, and there's a sound of smashing glass and screaming and shouting and a heck of a lot of noise. And I said, what's going on? I knew it was Oke Bay because I knew the lodge there. I knew the number. And they said, we're having a home invasion. We've got 20 Maori men doing a haka on the front lawn. They're smashing windows. They're rattling on the doors, trying to get inside. And I said, look, I'm so sorry. She said, we've got children wetting their beds and the screaming. This is in between the sound of smashing and screaming and shouting and everything. She was getting these words out. So I said, look, I'll just get up there as soon as I can. I put my clothes on, got in the car, rang the police on the way and said, we've got a really big problem at this property. This is what's happening. Well, they didn't arrive till 9 in the morning, about 7 hours later. And so when I got there, it was like a movie scene. There was just glass everywhere and broken weatherboards, cars smashed in, boulders had been thrown at the cars. It was chaos. They caused $10,000 worth of damage. So I went down into the community, and it was a terror attack. So I went down into the community and I said, why'd you do that? And they said, your lands were stolen from us. And I said, I don't care.
Yeah.
Why didn't you come and talk to me? Got nothing to do with them. This is women and children there. What kind of people are you? And anyway, so they told me some stories about the land, and I said, doesn't matter what your stories are, you should never do stuff like that. What, you know. So I went and researched the history of the land. I spent 3 months researching it. I went to Archives New Zealand, Maori Land Court, and a whole of other places, because I'm an author as well, and I'm a journalist. And I found out that land, see, it always costs the victim money. These Maori who did that just walk out, create $10,000 worth of damage, terrorise and bully everybody, walk out, no consequences. I have to clean up. I have to get all the insurance organised. I have to get all the, you know, the apologies to the South Africans and write everywhere to everybody about what had happened. And I'm the guy who has to take time off work. They don't have any of that. The perpetrators, the criminals, they just walk away, washing their hands, saying that was fun. You know, I have to do all this. So I had to write this book, took time off work, and I wrote a 200-page book. And the truth of the matter was that land was sold outright by a Maori family in 1937. And they sold it to the school teacher who'd been working in the community for 17 years. His name was Thomas Thompson. And he and his wife were like the schoolmaster, they were the vet, they were the nurse, they were the doctor, they were the counsellor, they were everything. And the community absolutely loved them. And the whole community in Rafferty turned up in Russell for a 3-day court case. It was then the Maori Land Court. And the whole community turned up to support the sale, except one person. And she was after the land for herself. But it was exactly the opposite of what Maori in 2015 was saying, with their narrative, which was all lies, just complete BS. So I put this book online. It's still online. You can read it. And all the Maori in the community read it. And I said, you owe me $10,000. I said, good people put things right that they do wrong. I've proved you wrong. You need to come up my driveway with a cheque for 10 grand. And you need to apologise to all the South Africans. You need to pay for my petrol and all my time that I've spent cleaning up after your mess. Nothing, just dead silence. So I had to forgive all that, try and move on. And in 2018, another Maori, we didn't hear from anybody in the community in all those years between 2008 and 2015. And they just treat you, stonewall you, total silence. You wave to them, they don't wave back. They obviously wanted you to get a message. We hate you, we don't like you, we don't want you. That's the message they wanted to give everybody that we had in our home. And every now and then, videos would go up online every 6 months with denigrating and slanderous videos online about how terrible we were and how we're desecrating their urupa and how we're chopping down kauri trees. We're the only ones who planted 600 native trees in the whole area, made it beautiful. We restored the house. Anyway, go on. 2018, another Maori lady comes up the driveway and she says, I want my land back. I said, look, I've researched the history of this land. You need to go and read my book. You know about that book. Anyway, she got close to me. She engaged me. And she got her fingernails in the top of my arms, my upper arms, and she started to rake them up and down my arms. And I thought I'd better be careful here because I could become the criminal. She becomes the victim if I just give her the bash. And when there was blood all down my arms, I thought that's enough. And I said, okay, that's enough now. I just turfed her down the driveway, and it was all captured on camera. It was given to the police, perfect sound, perfect video. She went to court. She was charged by the police with an assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, and the judge let her off. And the gallery just walked out. They were disgusted, the whole gallery. But not my friends, just people saying, how does this happen? Well, the government was paying judges or advising judges to let Maori off so they could bring the stats down to make the government look better at election time. So that lady went back to the community, and the message was, she said to the community, hey, you can assault Julian. There's no consequences. So we had to forgive that. And in 2022, another Maori, we don't see anybody between these visits, but another lady comes up the driveway and she says, can I have a meeting with you? And I said, okay. And I said, what time would you like to have a meeting? Because I always want to keep the door open, try and keep dialogue going. But, you know, we'd always try and win them over by giving away appliances and beds and soil and, you know, timber and everything. They never said thank you. They just didn't feel they're entitled to it. And because we'd leave stuff at the bottom of the driveway and say free to a good home, it would always go, but nobody'd ever come up the drive and say, hey, thank you very much, I appreciate that. So in 2022, this lady came up and we had this meeting. little bit of small talk, and she said, well, let me just cut to the chase. I said, okay, where you go? What have you come for? She said, if you don't give us your land, we're going to burn your house down.
Oh, wow.
We'd spent 8 and 10 years restoring that house, and it took a lot of work and heck of a lot of effort and a lot of money. And it was mostly volunteers and friends and everything who helped restore it. And we've been going on for 10 years. They said, if you don't give us your land, we're going to burn your house down. And I said, why would I do that? No, I was recording everything on my cell phone. She didn't know that, but I did. And she said, we just want it. And I said, well, you have to pay for it. If you want something, you have to pay for it. This is 2020. This is 2022. This is not 1830 where you just come on a raid. Anyway, the conversation went on. I gave that to the police. The police came back and said, we can't charge her. I said, why not? They said, because she didn't say, I am going to burn the house down. She said, we are. Now, she represented the whole community. I found out from the community that they'd sent her up trying to just, do this. So we had to forgive that as well. And then last year, about halfway through the year, I got a letter from Heritage New Zealand, which is really just a Maori organisation in Wellington. It's like a marae. And they said, dear Mr. Batchelor, we've reclassified your land. This is my life savings. We've reclassified your land as wahi tapu. Basically, we have control of it now, but you still pay the rates. And I went, no way. Am I going to accept this? And so I said, well, how do you justify that? They said some sacred body was dragged across the land in something like that. And I said, where's the proof for that? No proof. And then I found out on the bottom of some emails that were me corresponding with them, one of the minions inside Heritage New Zealand forgot to take off his correspondence with the locals. And it said something like this: hey, bro, this is the Wellington guy talking. Hey, bro, we got the land. High five.
Yeah, now folks, as I understand it, Liz is developing policy regarding co-governance, so let's wait and see. And if she's not strong enough on this issue, if she's not strong enough on this issue, she certainly won't be getting my vote. Anyway, folks, I posted all the relevant links below.